If you couldn't tell from the introduction of this video, we're Team 1. My name's Emily Perdue, and in the next few minutes, you'll get to see the rest of my colleagues as we explore the ethics policies of 3 organizations. One is an accounting firm, another a law firm, and the last a general for-profit organization. As we will mention soon, the accounting firm we chose was Schneider Downs, the regular firm we chose was Heinz, and the law firm we chose was Olmel, Vinny & Myers.
So we're the accounting sub-team, and our firm that we looked at was Schneider Downs.
Schneider Downs is a small accounting firm that is located in Pittsburgh. They also have an office in Ohio. They are an accounting, tax, and business advisory firm.
On their website, when we did some research, we found their mission statement, which says they are working together every day to make our firm, clients, and communities better.
So how they go about doing this is they implement their core values, which are care, integrity, balance, respect, and drive.
Those are also found on the website. When interviewing Mike, we covered specific topics that we learned in class. Through the questions we asked, we were able to get a sense of their organizational culture. They have a strong culture in which ethical standards are high and there is a sense of belonging. They exemplified collectivist culture, which was evident through his continual reinforcement of the idea that there is an emphasis on we rather than I. For example, he said that rewards are given to employees only when the entire company performs well. We believe this is an unusual but good practice because collectivist cultures, like those in Japan, tend to have higher feelings of trust and higher rates of productivity.
We are able to determine their formal system, which includes mission statement, core values, recruiting during interviews, policies and codes, and orientation and training. During the hiring process, they look for red flags signaling a lack of integrity. Their formal policy is distributed and taught during the new employee orientation.
In class, we also learned about informal systems of creating organizational culture through myths, stories, rituals, and norms. We asked Mike, who has been in the company for over 25 years now, about the brick that was used as an example in class, but neither he nor his colleague in charge of the move knew of this brick.
One of the rituals that Schneider Downs has is that they have management from the Ohio firm and from the Pennsylvania firm meet up together for one weekend in West Virginia. The CEO gives the State of the Firm speech, which is a play on the State of the Union address. In this speech, the CEO addresses their past, present, and future standings and successes.
Their norms revolve around the idea that they will always do the right thing no matter what. That is how they do things around here. The formal and informal systems are aligned, and they direct the employees in one direction to avoid the possibility of mixed messages and conflicting signals.
There are 2 main approaches in implementing ethics policies: compliance-based and values-based. Schneider Downs uses both of these to incorporate their core values. The compliance-based approach is rooted in law and ethics. There is not a formal board of ethics within the company because the AICPA and the state CPA organizations enforce ethical related matters. CPAs are required to stay up to date on ethics policies. The other approach, value-based, is rooted in the company culture, which is strong within Schneider Downs. This is driven by those 5 core values already mentioned.
When we asked Mike about the formal whistleblowing process, he said that the procedure is a written method of reporting suspected fraudulent or dishonest conduct to a supervisor, shareholder, or director of human resources.
He mentioned that while they promote an open door policy where employees should feel comfortable sharing, it is up to the employee to make the final decision on blowing the whistle. We were surprised to hear that there is not a 24/7 hotline, especially considering the fact that anonymity via a third-party hotline could increase the comfort of employees wishing to report something that they feel is unethical.
We asked Mike about Schneider Downs' corporate social responsibility practices, and he said the managers and employees are encouraged, but not forced, to give back to the community. Mike also said that when employees complete around 30 hours of volunteer work, they are given a day off to volunteer.
Their CEO, Bueller, is the chair member of the United Way Board. Mike said this was his way of putting his money where his mouth is.
The CSR practice that surprised and delighted us the most, however, was how Schneider Downs hires teenagers in at-risk high schools to give them an opportunity to work in a large business environment. After assessing the answers we received from Mike, we came up with recommendations to improve their ethics. One of our recommendations is to hire a third party to create a 24-hour hotline for reporting ethical issues so employees feel more comfortable discussing these issues in an anonymous setting.
Another recommendation is to create a company newsletter, distribute it once a month to remind employees of proper ethical behavior and policies. We feel that this would benefit the company because it provides easy access to the form and policy.
The third and final recommendation is to hire an ombudsman so it creates another person with whom employees can discuss ethical issues.
Hey everybody, we are the regular from Sub-Team and we look at Heinz. As you may know, Heinz is a US-based food company headquartered in Pittsburgh, but it's one of the most globally known companies in the world. We chose Heinz because we think the food safety is important in daily life, and having ethical practice in an organization that deals with food is an important method to keep their food safe. On their website, we found their mission statement. Core values and code of conduct. We contacted Michelle, the manager of corporate affairs, and scheduled an interview with her to ask her various questions that could not be answered from the website. The answer we received helped us to get a sense of their company ethics.
For the ethical culture, we believe that Heinz has a strong culture because their code of conduct is widely shared within the organization, and the employees strongly believe in following these codes. As Michelle mentioned, if the employees at top management did not believe in or maintain these ethical standards, the company would not be nearly as successful as they are today. Their formal system includes their ethical leadership, values and mission statements, policy and codes, and selection systems. The board of directors proves their ethical leadership regularly by creating a specific committee, the Corporate Governance Committee, which is dedicated to giving the ethics policies to everyone and ensuring that it is enforced by leaders for separate departments and top management. As we said earlier, their formal ethics codes of conduct can be found on their website. We thought this was a good idea because it creates a sense of transparency as though they have nothing to hide. Their selection system can be inferred from their guiding principles in their code of conduct. However, Michelle informed us that they use behavioral interview questions to determine the ethical standards of potential new employees. So for the informal system, the Heinz informal system involves a strong role model. The founder of the company, Henry John Heinz, is really a cool guy. And the company's high reputation and the standards originated with Mr. Heinz. The story goes that he used clear bottles for his products so that customers could see the high quality of Heinz products. The story influenced the development of their long-lasting high standards. And for whistleblowing, the formal system for bringing up an ethical issue is to speak with the local human resources representative, the director, EEO compliance and diversity, a member of the law, ethics, or corporate audit departments, or a compliance officer. And there's also a 24-hour Heinz ethics and compliance hotline for those who wish to remain anonymous. Finally, the online reporting method can be used to report ethical issues. The link to this can be found around their offices, as well as having access to it through Heinz Web. I think the whistleblowing process are great because there are so many methods for people to report any issue they can find.
Their CSR practices are more than the average company. They focus on 6 areas. In terms of the communities, they are very involved. They get their employees involved in communities and make generous donations to education, physical health, and nutrition and food security. Their commitment to sustainable growth can be seen in their yearly CSR report. They work hard every year to decrease their energy usage, waste, and greenhouse gases, as well as decreasing the material used in products. They also work hard to increase their employee engagement to continue healthy growth of the company.
After the interview, our group analyzed what we found, and we saw that Heinz does an amazing job. As I mentioned in the whistleblowing section, they have many methods of raising matters that employees find to be unethical. Also, their high level of corporate social responsibility not only provides many benefits to social, but also the growth of companies. However, if we had one recommendation to make it, it would be the Heinz should describe their decision-making process in the code of conduct, because it is not a clear topic for us to find or for Michelle to explain to us.
Our group decided to do our ethic audit of all Mulvaney and Mayors located in Times Square in New York City. After Skyping with a partner and you guys, we are able to draw a conclusion from our talk that related back to topics covered in class.
This Skype also provided us with expert knowledge of ethics policies that Mulvaney and Myers has and how they're implemented. When analyzing the information provided to us by Andrew Geist, we are able to see how top-level management executes their ethics policies and make sure that their employees are living up to the standards. First, we're going to discuss the culture of Mulvaney and Myers, or OMM. As a law firm, OMM's clients expect their employees to work to the best of their ability in representing them. In order to do this, OMM has created a culture that allows their employees to grow through socialization. In order for a company to sustain a good culture, they have to find a balance between a formal and informal culture.
First, OMM has 3 key values that represent the mission. Those values are citizenship, excellence, and leadership. These 3 values are placed all around the firm's offices as a way to remind the employees every day what their practices should reflect. OMM has an in-depth hiring process which screens each potential employee to make sure they have practiced ethical issues in the past. OMM also has a program called CLE, which stands for Continuing Legal Education, which allows for their employees to continue to grow and learn through convenient videos that are easy to access at any time.
Informally, senior leadership referred to the mission statement at various times when addressing employees. The top managers and CEO organize and participate in various charitable events and promote their employees to also participate in these events. When asked how they structure the ethics program, OMM shared with us 2 good practices that enable their ethics policy to be effective. The first way they structure an ethics program is through an ethics handbook. This handbook is given to each employee when they are hired. Each employee is asked to become familiar with the handbook and refer to it when any ethical issue arises so they know what to do.
The second way OMM creates an effective ethics program is through their policy committee. The policy committee acts as an ombudsman for the company. Anytime an unethical issue arises in the company, employees are encouraged to first reference the handbook and then the policy committee.
Right. Operating as an ethical company promotes a culture that provides OMM customers with superior service. and thus lead their customers to develop a loyalty to the company, which in turn leads to a stronger bottom line. Without their customers, they would be without a job and without a company. So by dealing with customers and employees in an ethically driven manner, they're able to sustain a relationship with both groups to enable a strong future with the company. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is important to any company, but to OMM it's extremely important. Co-founder Henry O. Mulvaney wanted to make his public service just as important as his client service. OMM has created a strong relationship with stakeholders to help enact its CSR goals. Things that OMM focuses on is diversity inclusion, scholarship programs, and pro bono or philanthropic actions. Some actions include building homes and providing legal services for victims of Hurricane Katrina and members volunteering in the community. These types of CSR help OMM generate goodwill with local stakeholders. After interviewing with O. Mulvaney and Myers, we have a few recommendations that we believe will help improve their ethics systems. Our first recommendation would be to make sure their handbook is updated yearly and that every employee is updated with any changes.
Our second recommendation would be to give online tests or modules that employees have to take at least once a year. These can be structured much like the CLE training, where employees can do the training on their own time at home.
Lastly, we will recommend making their clients familiar with their ethical policies. This way, unethical situations will occur less often if both parties understand the company's policies on ethics.
After looking at the information collected and presented for Schneider Downs, Heinz, and O. Mulvaney and Myers, we now have the ability to compare and contrast the ethics systems in each company. In terms of culture, we found strong cultures in all three of the companies we examined. All three also have a formal ethics policy that is distributed to the employees at some point. Both Heinz and O. Mulvaney and Myers have role models that are a part of their informal system of creating culture. In Heinz, the founder's story and methods are often told and reinforce their guiding principles. In O. Mulvaney and Myers, top management acts as the role models by always speaking and acting in ethical manners. In contrast, Schneider Downs' informal culture is mostly shaped by norms and the state of the firm address, ritual. However, all three informal systems have the same effect. They align with the formal system and create strong cultures. We noticed that Heinz has an ombudsman, O. Mulvaney and Myers has a policy committee that acts as a board of ombudsmen, and yet Schneider Downs has no ombudsman. The biggest difference between all three companies is the whistleblowing processes. In Schneider Downs, there is a formal written method of reporting on ethical issues. In O. Mulvaney and Myers, employees are encouraged to first review the ethics handbook before consulting the policy committee. Heinz blew these two companies out of the water by having an ombudsman, an online reporting method, and a 24-hour ethics hotline. We hope you enjoyed our presentation today. We would like to personally thank a few people without whom we would not have been able to complete our project. Michael Collins, Assistant Director of Human Resources at Schneider Downs. Michelle Close, Manager of Corporate Affairs at Heinz. And Andrew Geist, Partner at O. Mulvaney and Myers.
Cut this part.
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay, anyways. It's just pull yourself together. Okay.
Heinz.
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 Oh, it's more worse than the first.